right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our final office hours session for the year. We'll pick back up with these in 2026 on January 6th. Today, we will be going over some of the reports that are in the CEJA reporting system, and we'll also provide, but before that, we'll provide some updates on things we have going out tomorrow night. So by Friday morning, the updates we're going to go over will be available in the system. So let me start there and take a look at our list of updates. The first one I wanted to mention is in when you are in the system, there would be some tabs if in a mobile view, you wouldn't be able to click through them or access them. We're going to have that updated. So again, Friday morning, the system will be much more mobile friendly. I know that was asked about the last in the previous session, so we do have that update coming. We also had an issue where, let me see if I have a customer example I can pull from here, where a customer's program history, let's see if this one's in UAT, was not showing. So for example, we have this customer here who is in ClimateWorks, but also returning residents. And when we access their profile, and if under participant summary tools, if we were to click program history, we see both of those as well. And I know there's a couple other programs that are pulling in here. I believe JTED, and there may be another one as well, that if the account was synced up, to JTED, and they're added into CEJA, and that account synced, then that would be showing here as well. And I believe the other updates we'll have going out, we did have a couple different issues in the planned versus actual report, where in one case, I believe it was navigators were just not able to access it. We have that. We have an update for that coming out. And there were cases where some customers were just not populating, where you would expect them to in the report, or it was showing zero when you filter to it. So we'll have an update for that coming out. In addition to that correction in the plan versus actual, we are also adding, maybe I can pull this up here, into the, let's see, I'm logged in as ClimateWorks. In the activities and outcomes section, we've added a row here. Okay, for partners. And we can see the partner types for apprenticeship, business association, community-based organization, employer, and high school. And that's added through the participant engagement and management tool. So this is where that's pulling from. And so as those are added in and that partner type is selected, they'll populate in this list here. So we do have that. So partner types. Let's see. And then I think the other update that we have going out. Yeah, it was accessing the cohort report. There were issues where navigators and grantees in the cohorts, if a navigator, if a customer is tied, has a connection to a navigator and a grantee, then both navigator and grantee should be able to, view that in the cohort report. And there's an issue where um, grantees were not able to access that. So we do have an update going out for that. So those are the updates that we have. Again, those are all going out Thursday evening, so Friday morning they'll be available. And I did want to note some other things that we are working on in the current round of updates here. We are, let's see, let me flip over to, we're changing this here, this employment post-secondary status column. We're changing that to transition outcomes. And then as transition outcomes are added on that program completion tab, they'll, they'll populate in this list here. We had an issue with the customer services report export, which was not working properly. I'm sure we'll cover that report later so we can see, where that's going to be addressed. And let's see. We also, for the plan versus actual report, we wanted to update it so that the work plan for sub-grantees does not add to the main grantees work plan numbers and throw those off. So we're going to get an update in for that. We are also going to add a section when you're adding a customer, if they're just an inquiry. And let me pull up the pre-screening here. Let's see. Be adding a here. Show you in a second where that's going to be. Okay. So we'll be adding it to the top of this pre-screening window where you'll be able to add notes and you'll be able to save those. Because, while we do have this notes section at the bottom, in order for these notes to be retained, you have to complete all the required fields in the pre-screening in order for that to be saved. So we're going to be adding a window here where you can, enter a note without having to complete all of the pre-screening. And I think there's just a couple more things to note. We're going to be adding to the plan versus actual reports, an Excel download, and then I believe that covers all the updates I wanted to go over. I do see, James, you have your hand raised.
Hi, yes, thank you. I actually got a question about it's dealing with Navigator. So I went in to look at the partners, outreach partners and engagement area, and there was a way that we were entering engagements before, but I'm not able to see those, nor am I able to enter an engagement for us dealing with partners or companies. Has that process changed?
Yeah, we're currently working on some other updates for that. So, temporarily, that's not, may not be able to add those in. But once we do get those updates complete, we'll, go over, we'll update our instructions, a tutorial video, and we'll, go over that on one of these office hour calls.
Okay, so while we're in that process, I guess that's one of my reporting measures. So I guess is there a way to access that information, or do I just kind of have to save it for the time being until that system is updated?
Yeah, I would just save it for the time being.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm. So with those updates we have forthcoming and what we're working on, are there any questions before we dive into going over the reports in CEJA. All right. Well, if not, we'll go ahead and proceed. But of course, if questions come, feel free to enter them into the chat. And let me see where I want to start today. So we'll just go over how to enter, access and kind of view these reports. So we'll start with, I'm going to start with the dashboard report. So we have this dashboard report when you're logged in. If you click this dashboard dropdown and click CEJA, and you can filter to your program of what you have access to. And when this loads, we'll see several different rows. I know we have several reports, so we won't go over necessarily each row and line item. But what a lot of these do, we can see this is color coded, so we see red, red and yellow indicate an action is needed. Red is more urgent, or if a certain amount of time has passed, to follow up on that. So we can see, and then in green, those are good, no action needed. And we have it broken out in different sections. So we have outreach, intake, referrals, service status, earn credential, completion, information, and transition outcomes. And lastly, the program follow-up. And next to, I think, virtually all of these items here, we have a little info bubble that's just defining, and explaining what this is and, what action is needed. What we have listed first is respond to transfer requests. So when a transfer request is submitted by one organization to another, the receiving organization, they will get an email and with a link to respond to the transfer request for those customers. Because emails and email settings, they may not, they may go to spam or junk folders, or they may just not get delivered. But what I would recommend, for all navigators, grantees, sub-grantees, is to check this respond to transfer requests row, on a regular basis. We can see here we don't have any for this grantee, but if you do see a number here, that means when you click this number, it'll show a list of customers who have a pending transfer request, and you can respond to them. And let's see here. Yeah, and you'll see a button. It's a blue button to respond to request. If the customer is an inquiry record, it's at the top of the window when you select their name, or if they are an applicant or grader, at the top of the intake tab, you'll see that respond to request button. So just a reminder, refresher for the transfer requests. But for a lot of these, this also gives you, a bird's eye view of where, customers stand. We can see for this S-Tester 1, they're a ClimateWorks grantee. We can see, that we have 78 customers who are or who have completed the application and are eligible. But we also have 17 who do not have an application that's complete, and 18 where there's an application that has not been completed within 10 days of being added into the system. And for these red rows here, we have next steps. In this case, contact the customer, work with them to complete the application. If they do not want to participate, update their status to not enrolled, customer declined. And when we click these here, we'll see the list of customers. This is 17 for not having a completed application. And so, we have our flags here. And in this case, it's red. So, we need to take action here and complete the customer's application, but then also So you can see complete application, and it's also looking at adding a career assessment and completing the service needs assessment. So we would need to complete those in order to resolve that flag. Like I said, I won't go through all of these just because, for the sake of time. Um, but that's how, you can view this dashboard. It also offers, kind of a bird's eye view of, a lot of the fields here on a customer's progress page. On an individual basis, we can see, these red and green flags. And so I kind of like to imagine the dashboard as kind of the, bird's eye view of all the customers and their flags in the system. And, you can kind of see where everyone stands and, what information needs to be updated. All right, so that is the dashboard. Next, we'll do the planned first actual. And we went to this earlier, but we can access this by, let me actually go over here real quick just to make sure. Okay, yeah, we do have a tab right here for plan versus actual, but it's also accessible in this dashboard drop down right here. And that will take us to, this page where we're for navigator, we can filter accordingly, and same for grantee. And then the time frames we have, all, and then also calendar year and quarter. And if we select calendar year and quarter, we can then select, the year and the quarters. We also have the custom start and end date range that we can search for. And when we filter, the customer list will load, and we'll see, the different rows here. We'll see it broken out in different sections, kind of similar to, the dashboard, but we have, our outreach and partnerships, service delivery, characteristics. We can see these are, questions that are asked in pre-screening and on the, as part of eligibility. Transition outcomes as well. So we can see those, populate as the outcomes are updated on the program completion tab. And we can see, over here in our columns, we have, how many were completed in the last quarter, the number planned that was entered on the work plan report, which we'll get to shortly. And then these are the numbers that are actually in the system. And if we select the hyperlink here, that would open up the list of, customers. So we can see, in this case, here would be our 92 ClimateWorks applicants. So you can see that count right there. And then we can see that 32 of the applicants are enrolled and 14 have complete, and so on. And then for characteristics here, we would have 146 who are residents of EJC and or R3 community, 48 who were formerly incarcerated, and so on. So that's our plan versus actual. And if we go to, let's see, the work plan and reports, close out a couple of these tabs here. We can see submitted quite a few of these for this grantee. And let's see, so in order to submit one, we'll select a calendar year and then the grantee. And then we can click the submit project work plan. And then we'll see that this loads here. Project plan, we see our grantee name. In the project narrative, we can enter, or this grant number is getting pulled from, let me just double check and make sure. This is getting pulled from the provider info section of CEJA, specifically the grantee details page. So when we filter to our program and provider, and we scroll down to, yes, associated grants, if we enter the grant number here, that is going to populate in this field here. But then in these drop downs we have, these would be, we see these names populating here for grantee project manager, reporting staff, fiscal staff, other if needed. The names that we're going to see here, these are just going to be based on, which staff members have access to your organization in the CEJA system. So if you don't see a name there, then they don't have access to CEJA. But once they do, then you'll see them populate there. And then in the project overview, we have the text box here where we can enter that narrative portion. And let me actually go ahead and submit this. So overview. And then in our activities and outcomes, we can see the different line items here. And just making sure all of these are required to enter. So you would fill this out for your planned numbers for each of these items for outreach and partnerships, service delivery, and our characteristics. Again, these are the eligibility items and then the plan transition outcomes. So you can enter those numbers in there. And then our training programs, these are going to be pulling from we can access this two ways. We can click this button here or under the provider info training programs tab. The programs that we see here are going to be the ones that are pulling into this list here. So you can get that overview right here. And then lastly, these are the cohorts that have been added in. And that to add these are going to be on another tab, but these are pulling through the cohort report, which we'll get to. And once we have all information entered, we can click save, get the system prompt that the work plan has been submitted. And if we go back, let's see here. Yeah, right at the top here, we can see, based on the date, this is the one that we've added as a status is not yet approved by the regional administrators. But if we need to go back and make changes, we can select it and make the necessary changes and click save. Okay, now go to this reports tab here, and let's click the cohort report. And we'll make our filter selections here. So we have Climate Works, we'll say 2025, and leave this as community partnership for the grantee. Click filter, and then we can see all the cohorts that meet this criteria for Climate Works 2025 and this grantee. If we wanted to filter even further by cohort type, we can see this option here. So if we had, let's say, job specific, click filter again, we'll get that one cohort pulling through. And if there were even more, we could filter by job specific training. So in this case, it's the hybrid EV technical training. We could also search by date range, which is going to look at cohorts whose start and end dates fall within the date range we search here. And when we click the cohort name, we can see that cohort summary information right here. And in the table below, we'll just see grantee, cohort name, cohort type, job specific training, the planned start and end dates, the cohort capacity that was entered, and then when customers are selected to that cohort, on through the intake page, they'll populate here. And if we go back to our reports, let's go down the line here. The cost report, this can be used to view costs that are entered with the wraparound support services in the customer career plan. So we can pull back, all of our customers who have that. If we were, looking at different services, we can, make that selection here. So yeah, in that case, let's say we wanted to look at all the costs entered for wraparound support services, we can filter to it, and we'll see this summary information here. So we can see our, providers, the customer name, the service, and then, in this case, for this customer, it looks like we have one service with 3 different costs. We're going to see each of those costs broken out here. So you can see the payment method, the description or type that we selected, the amount, the quantity. Is it an actual or estimated cost? Because if we do have an estimated cost that, we'll have a yellow flag on the customer's progress page, then also in the dashboard report that we'll need to go back and correct. So this is also another view to view all customers who have that cost that we can then update. So then we see the total cost, the payment date, is it a payment split, invoice number if we add that in, how is it paid by, and then which staff member updated it, when, and if we needed to edit or delete the cost, we can select edit to be taken to that service, or the red X here to remove it. And we can also export this as a file. And I believe that was one of the things we have working on in this sprint that was not currently working. Yeah. So we have our cost report. Let's see, we also have our customer service report. This will operate similarly. So if we select CEJA, our grantee organization, and click filter. And this is going to pull back a list of services in this first column. These are all the services that appear in our customers' career plans. And if we look through the table, we can see the service level. It might be from an older thing. I don't think we really need to worry about that. But we can see in these other columns here, these are just the different statuses, these next 5 columns of, the customer has, in this case, adult mentoring. We have 1, but the status is not started. For assistance with completing an apprenticeship program, we have 2 who have that service that has started, and 1 who has an unsuccessful completion status. And then in these last 2 columns, we can see, the total number of customers who have the service and those who do not have the service. And so, for example, if we needed to add here, digital literacy, we can see we have 49 customers who do not have that service. So we can click this and see the list of 49 customers here. And what we can do is we can enter, the start and planned due dates for that customer and that service. We can also enter the end date and the weekly hours, that are average weekly hours, and we can change the status here. And so if we needed to, update all these customers to start and open, or if all of these were started and open, we needed to, update them to successful completion. We can make those changes in this table here and click save. And I just want to make sure, I believe if we enter this here, we have started open. I believe we can update we don't have to update every customer in this list. We can update the one customer here. Okay. So yeah, we do see that confirmation there. Let's see. And yeah, if you click, if you wanted to get closer to it, you can click the add to career plan link there, and that will take you to the service directly, or it'll take you to the add step services tab. And then we would, oh, in this case, they didn't have the service. That's right. So we would then add the service directly. So digital literacy. Again, we can export as well. And let's see if there's anything else I wanted to go over here. Don't believe so. Okay, so our next report, we have our demographics reports. So we have these for ClimateWorks, Navigators, Workforce Hubs. I'm a ClimateWorks grantee. Go to this one. And let me select our grantee, select all. And then for section, we have, we can look at enrollment, training completion, apprenticeship placement, or all performance measures. We'll select all, and we can see this just get pulled into the table below. So we have our columns for the demographics. This first one is demographics and enrollment. So we can see in this column here, the different demographics and breakdown of our customers by race, gender, age, veteran status, and equity eligible community status. And we can see the number of the number of individuals who have applied, how many in the system have that item checked or selected. And then we also then we have this one for enrolled. So we have our demographics, the number of individuals who have applied, and then the number who are enrolled. So you can view that this way. And of course, we see the hyperlinked lists here. When we select those, that would open up the customer list of those customers meeting that criteria. So here are 4 customers for that line right there. And so under demographics, we have training completion. So again, we have our demographic items here, and then the number of individuals who have completed. So we can view the data that way. And then lastly, apprenticeship placement, the demographic items, and then the number of graduates placed in construction and building trades apprenticeship. And so yeah, in this case, I selected all 3 performance measures, but if we just wanted to look at one of those 3 tables, we could select that as well. Okay, the next one is the narrative report. So when we get here, we'll select our organization, and we can see the narratives that have been previously added. And let's see, so it is December. So yeah, we can add a report here. We can select the calendar year, quarter, and the month. And then we would just fill in the text for the different sections. So summary of grant progress, activities, barriers and technical assistance needs, accomplishments and success stories, expected accomplishments for the next month and quarter, and additional information. And then we can click to save. But if we want to look at a previously submitted one, let's take a look at, let's see, 2025, we have, this looks like the 3rd quarter here. If we click view, it was submitted for July. And so what we can see, what we previously entered in July here. We can hide it for the different sections here. But then we see August. So if we needed to enter, so you can see 2025, quarter 3, the month of August. we can fill in, oops, this section here. So we'll enter that for each of our parts here and click save. We'll see that the report saved. And if we go back to that one at the bottom here and click view, we can then see what we entered for July, what we entered for August, and then we can fill in what we need to for September. We can see that this has automatically been selected up here as well. So that's the narrative report. Success stories, admins, we'll circle back to that one. But this last one listed here is the work plan. And this is another way to view, that was the second or third report that we were looking at. This is just our work plan and reports page here. And then we have success stories, admin. This is, I think, mainly for, the regional administrators to, review and approve or deny any submitted success stories. But as navigators and grantees write success stories about their program or a particular customer that's noteworthy and significant. This is a link to that tool for us to manage. Actually, no, sorry. This is a link to the success stories guide. And so this guide page here, just kind of explains success stories. It includes, a tutorial video, some, down below here, some tips and, previous handouts and presentations on, kind of how best to write a success story, some, what makes it effective, final touches, kind of formatting it appropriately. But then we have our, sections here. A worknet account is required to submit a story. So, customers, they would have a worknet account that they could submit if they wanted to, submit it themselves. Employers, they would need, a worknet account if they don't have one already, but they can, write about, any partnerships they have. And then service providers, this would be, navigator grantee staff submitting on behalf of a customer. And I won't go through this all the way through this since this is production, but you would select this item or this line here for log into your account and submit a success story. And then we'd submit customer or employer story. I believe this community story is primarily for Apprenticeship Illinois, that program. So we'd select either one of these two. If we select the customer story, we then get taken to a search page where we can look up the username for that customer's account or their name right here. It'll pull back a list of customers who may meet that criteria. Or in this case, since it would be based on organization and access. If you had multiple John Smiths in your program, for instance, it would pull back the list of those, and you would be able to identify which one based on worknet username, date of birth, and there's a button to click select, and then there's the submission form for the story that you can then submit. And once it is submitted, we do have staff that will look at and review the success stories on a weekly basis. And so once those do get approved, they'll appear publicly on, let's see, we have it, I believe, on our homepage here. In worknet, we do have a success story section of successes here, and this is pulling back all the success stories that have been submitted. But if we click view more, we'll be taken to a page where we can then filter by participant type, but more importantly, or I think for our purposes, CEJA. And I know we have more than, I think only ClimateWorks is displaying just because so far we only have one success story that was tagged as ClimateWorks. So it was Workforce Hubs and Navigators and other programs um, have those other CEJA options selected. Then those will populate in this list here. So if we click search, we can then see our one success story that's been added. Okay, let's see. I believe those are all of our reports. I know that was a lot of reports. Just wanted to make sure that we had time to at least go over all of them for a little bit. But with that, are there, just taking a look in the chat, I don't see any questions, but yeah, if there are any questions about reports, you can add them in the chat or unmute and ask away. If you don't have any questions about reports or just anything else about the CEJA system, you can also uh, ask about that as well. Are there any questions or things, certain things you'd like for us to walk through in the system? If not, I'll give our regional admins if there's anything you wanted to share or uh, mention.
Nothing for me today, thanks.
No, this is Larry. I don't have anything either. Thank you.
I'm good too. Thanks, David.
Thanks. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I can give you about 15 minutes time back. I will get this posted to our partner guide page. And again, this will resume our office hour sessions next year on January 6th. So with that, have a great rest of your day and happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Happy holidays.